And I want to start with the most recent stuff. I want to talk about Steve Cherundolo out at LAFC because I don't think this is something anybody saw coming. And he's leaving similar to how Tata Martino left Inter Miami, right? On his own terms, for family reasons, for personal reasons, not being ousted by the club in any way, shape, or form. So I kind of wanted to just get your thoughts when you heard the announcement today, or when I told you about the announcement today, what you thought about it.
I mean, I thought you were lying at first, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it at all. Um, I mean, obviously he's done a good job coming in for LAFC, and I mean there were questions at first. I think we were asking the questions because it's like he was coming in with not much manager experience at all. I mean, he had some experience at the youth level for Hanover, and then had a season, maybe two, I can't totally tell, with the Las Vegas Lights, and then that was it. That was the resume. And then he was taking over I mean, arguably the biggest at the time and most ambitious team in the league in LAFC. That's a those are big shoes to fill. I mean, I think there were a lot of questions on if he could do it, if he could fill the shoes, and I feel like there might be some people who debated a little bit, but I think he's done a good job in charge. I mean, he's won three trophies with them in his time there. I mean, it's hard to ask for more than three trophies in 3 years. I think the biggest question is going to be what's next for the club. Because I mean, it's an ambitious club and it's a really exciting opportunity for, I'm sure, a lot of managers. I'm really excited to see like what the list is going to look like. And I can't wait to be disappointed when they're like, oh, we're going to bring like Phil Neville out of Portland if he gets fired, then it's just going to be miserable. But that's not their track record. So I'm hopeful that they're not going to go down that route. Maybe
Oh
they'll
man.
steal Nancy from Columbus. That'll be
There,
really ambitious.
there you go, Connor, hitting all the talking points before we actually get there. That's
That's
you're
what I
right
do
back on
best.
brand. Yep. So I'll start with I'll start here first because we're going to talk about legacy. We're going to talk about what's next, but um, I'm okay with this, right? If you're going to put your family first and your family wants to go back to Germany, or that's where because I mean he played his whole career there. He started like I said, he started his coaching career there. Like that's where everything is home for him. So if his family wants to go back, you do what your family wants. So I'm cool with that. But what I'm also happy with is the timing, right? Tata Martino when he left was like right at the end of the season. And again, maybe Tata's thing came up last minute. Like I'm not blaming Tata Martino for the way he did things, but this gives LAFC enough time to prepare, find that next guy up, and determine what the path is after Steve Cherundolo leaves for LAFC, both in club identity and player recruitment profiles and all these sorts of things that they need to focus on. They don't need to figure it out at the drop of a hat, which I think is important, right? When you're planning long-term future of your team. But let's just transition real quick into that legacy, right? Because LAFC's only had two managers and they've hit really, really well on both of them. You start out with Bob Bradley, who was great. Started off as one of the best expansion teams out there, and you transition right into Steve Cherundolo. And even though he's been at the helm a little bit longer, you can argue that he leaves with a more impressive resume. Both managers did win a supporter shield, but only Steve Cherundolo brought home the U.S. Open Cup and the very, very sought after MLS Cup in 2022 after the brilliant MLS Cup final, as we all remember. However, most may remember him, whether it be correct or not, for his inability to get the job done when it mattered. He did win three titles in LAFC, you're right, but he also finished runner up in three of them as well. 2023 was the roughest of them all. He finished second best in MLS Cup and the CONCACAF Champions League, while also claiming a second place finish in Leagues Cup last season. So I'm going to ask you, do you think, in terms of his legacy, he goes down as the guy who brought three titles to LAFC, or the guy who didn't win three titles for LA, or the guy, rather, I should say, the guy who didn't win six titles for LAFC?
No, I think they remember him for his titles. I don't think they remember him for the misses. I think it's a different scenario if you're like a New England where you're not winning anything and you're constantly finishing runner up versus if you're making it to a lot of finals and you're winning some of them. But then again, there's gonna be people who definitely remember him for the misses. Because I mean, here we go. I'm bringing in another sport already. But like LeBron, right? Like the debate between LeBron and Jordan all of the time is like LeBron has, I don't know what his record is. I'll make something up. He's like three and three in the finals or something like that. Like he's won three and he's lost three NBA finals. And it's like, all right, Jordan was in six finals and he won all six. Um, and then it becomes the debate of like, do you like people I think remember LeBron's finals appearances a lot more for the misses than they did for like the ones that he's won. Like he's won many more titles than like majority of players in the NBA will win. And people remember it for the misses. This isn't me trying to compare Steve Cherundolo to LeBron James. I mean, I'm not making the claim that he's the LeBron James of coaching, but like, um, I think there's going to be some people who have that mindset. But I think because it was such a short period of time, there's going to be more remembrance of like the good moments versus like the bad ones. And because I think he had a lower bar when he came in because he hadn't had the coaching resume of like a lot of like a Tata Martino in Inter Miami. I mean, I will personally remember him more for his wins than his near misses, but I think it's good that he got them into those situations in the first place. I mean, it's better to I mean, maybe it's not, but I've always been of the mindset that it's better to make it all the way to the finals and lose than to lose in the first round.
Yeah, but you haven't even taken into account the way the New York Jets do things and don't even make it to the first round at all. That's the
They make
real
it to
champion right there.
their first round is the first round of the NFL draft every year. That's
Yeah,
their
that's
first
right.
round.
That's right. Well, listen, I completely disagree with you. I think you're totally wrong. And this is good because we haven't had a
That's
disagreement in a
perfect. That's what
while.
I love to
We
hear.
haven't had this in a while. Listen, sports management, thankless job, right? And therefore, he will go down as a guy who didn't do enough. And whether it's right or wrong, and I think it's wrong, they only remember your failures in the sports world, right? Unless you are the cream of the crop. Like you mentioned the Jordan versus LeBron debate. That's because they're two of the greatest and they're comparing everything they've won. But then you look at people like, oh, why are they not at this level? It's a, oh, what's your record in big games here? How many times you missed the winning shot or what have you, right? Unless you're the top of the top, I think people will look at you and be like, oh, you didn't do enough for me. And especially in management, right? Especially in management is where you see that you're not good enough mantra come out, which I think is completely unfair because if you compare, I would say that LAFC have not had a significantly better roster now than they did when they started. Right, I think the investment was levels were the same. They had, I think you can argue they had better individual performers. Right, I think Carlos Vela and Buanga are probably comparable, but I would say that Vela carried the team more. Right, Golden Boot, goals record, like significant contributions. Right, where Buanga was, I know he's close, but I don't think he was ever that close, or that level. I mean, is what I should say. So if you sit there and say, okay, they had comparable teams going into each coach's tenure. Dolo, I'm going to use Dolo like we're buddies, right? But Dolo bested Bob Bradley in almost every major category. You look at the trophies you mentioned, 3-1, right? Points per game, wins, all these things. And I would say that he was also doing it in a league. I won't say necessarily tougher than Bob Bradley did, but with a lot
I'll
more
say it.
teams.
I think it's
Okay,
tougher.
that's fine. That's fine. And I didn't want to say that because I don't know. You could say yeah, there were more teams in there, but those teams were like San Jose last year, right? Like, is it
True.
tougher? I don't know, right? And that's arguable, and that's for another conversation. But Steve Cherundolo is going to get the short end of the stick here because what he didn't do, and I don't think that's right because he won a Shield Cup double in 2022. He won a U.S. Open Cup in 2024, and he got closer to a Continental Trophy in the Champions Cup, Champions League, whatever you want to call it, as well as back-to-back MLS Cups, something that hasn't been done in a decade and a half, and that is more than almost any manager in the world, or at least who has been in MLS, can say about their career. If he chooses to go coach in Germany or even look at the USMNT after 2026, when Poch inevitably gets out of the World Cup and then bounces because he's not staying here past that, I think that he's going to be very, very successful. But I do think that, like, I posted something about the thing on Twitter, and instantly my comment, the first thing I got was like, Steve Chokundolo or something like that, because his last three finals he choked him out. And it's like, okay, sure, but is that really fair? I don't think so, right? And that's just my take.
Well, your first mistake was trying to base people's opinions off of a Twitter tweet. Like that's your first mistake. You'll only find the most toxic people on Twitter.
That's not
I
true. The
do.
smartest people in the world I've ever met were on Twitter. I'll tell you that. ProRel, USMNT stands. I mean, the list goes on. Yeah.
That's a fair point. I mean, you bested me there. I'll say two things. I think I do agree with you that I think it may take a little bit of time, but people will come to the realization that I think Bob Bradley is thought of well in terms of the LAFC light. Like he was there for the start and like helped build them and make them a prominent team straight off the bat. And I think that probably resonated with a lot of people. And I think they were really fun to watch. They were very attacking. And I think people will remember that time fondly. And then they'll associate him with that time, rightfully so, because he was in charge. I think people will eventually come to the realization that like the team was better when I'll also use Dolo because we're buddies.
Boys.
Um, yeah, we're boys. When Dolo was in charge, and it usually takes people a little bit of time to kind of come to the realization on a lot of these things, and I think people will eventually come to it. What I think will determine like the short term view of his tenure here will be how they do this season. If he leaves them off this season with, I'd say at least one trophy, I think people will remember him in a good light from the start, as opposed to Chocandolo.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, right? Yeah, if you leave on a high, great. If you are struggling to get like right now, they're right on the fringe. It's early and they got CC whatever. But right now you're on the fringe of the playoffs, right? If you leave them there, you sneak in and then you bounce the first round. Yeah, I think you're definitely going to have a different view of it. So yeah, it's a good point. That being said, he's going to leave. He made it very clear. So that means something has to come next. You've got 6 to 8 months to figure out what your succession plan is, and it's not like they need to do a whole roster rebuild. It's not like they're New England or San Jose who are just like, let's flip it on its head. What comes next? What do you think they need to look for? Because I know your first cop, I was like, they need a whole roster rebuild. Nope, not here. What are they looking for in a manager? Give it to me right.
I want to see them go ambitious, like get somebody who's going to be exciting for this team to fit the exciting roster build that they always have with them. There's so much talent on this team. It should be a very enticing job for a lot of managers. I think there will be big opportunities, especially if they can tell them like, hey, you're going to come in early in this offseason. We're going to give you this money. You could start to build the team how you like to see it. I think that would be a great opportunity for whoever's coming in, like ambitious, like they've shown that they're ambitious owners. They're going to spend, build an exciting team. They want to compete every year. There's not this rebuild. This isn't a San Jose or Chicago where it's like we're okay if we could just make the playoffs this year. Like no, LAFC wants to win everything every year, and I love that. It's ambitious. It's fun. It's great for the fans. It's definitely a lot of pressure for whoever's coming in. I don't think they need to do any sort of roster rebuilding unless the new manager wants to. I think the main focus has to be on finding the right manager. And now, because Dolo's given them this amount of time, they could put the time and effort into finding the right person. So I think they're in a good spot, even if there's going to be shakeup going into next season.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong there. I think that one you got all right. But this is tough, right? You don't know who's going to be available in 10 months, right? You don't
Yeah,
know what the market's going to look like. But I do think that they are going
true.
to have their pick of the litter, right? Maybe you're looking for somebody who's flexible in their management style, right? You looked at Steve Cherundolo. He started off. He took over a team that was ball dominant, right? They dominated possession. They played through the lines, and then he was like, okay, teams have figured that out, and they're going to press us. We're going to play completely on the counter. We're going to go against the ball, and then we're going to win it deep and go and let Luanga do his thing. And he was successful in both of them, right? So maybe that's something he's looking for, is somebody who can flip flop between tactics whenever it calls upon. I don't know, but I do think they're going to have the pick of the litter because let's think about it, right? You're in Los Angeles, California, in the United States of America, which is a lot better than Topeka, Kansas. I'm going to keep going back to that. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus.
Wow, okay.
Uh,
You're going to be banned from Topeka at this
yeah,
point.
that's all right. Listen, you know what? If I had to pick a list of 10 places I need to be banned from in the United States, I think that might have been on there. Um, but listen, right? So you're there. You've got one of the most aggressive ownership groups in the league, known for getting big names and drawing big attendance numbers. Oh, and by the way, it's right before 2026 World Cup.
hmm
What
All
more
eyes
could
on there.
Yeah, what more could you want, right? They are not going to be short of options. I think they're going to have a lot of names in the hat, and like you mentioned, it's about picking the right one. So
Can I come in with a out of left field crazy name to shout out here for
I
LAFC?
I would be disappointed if you didn't.
So what if they went and I'm very sorry to the team I'm about to mention the coach of. What if they went a very similar route to Columbus, right? So Wilfred Nancy comes in with Montreal, tears things up, right? Does a really good job with them. Columbus comes in and poaches him. someone who's successful in the league has experience. What if LAFC do the same thing with Sorensen in Vancouver, the way that he's been ripping off this start? If he keeps this up for the full season, who's to say they don't throw a bunch of money at Vancouver and say, give us your coach? And Vancouver will fold anytime they have somebody that's good and they get offered money.
Are we really buying? Are we really buying Sorensen in Vancouver right now?
It's early. It's early. I'm not
I'm gonna
saying
say
like,
I definitely think that's early, but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
let's.
Like we'd have to see the full season, but I mean, he's been off to a ripping start with a team that I mean, you predicted really low, and I predicted mid-table because to be frank, on paper they had no business being this good at the start of the season.
Yeah, like I said, and it doesn't even make sense to start looking at like managers that are available because I
That's
mean
exactly why you
you
keep
don't
an
know what's
eye on
going on.
people in the league
I
because
don't.
I
I
mean,
listen. I don't hate it. I
follow the
don't hate.
Columbus way.
I don't
Yeah, I
hate.
mean, if he rips, why not go for him, you know?
Yeah, I mean I don't hate
Vancouver
it.
Vancouver bends over for money. I mean, I hate to say it, but like they
Yeah,
do.
pause.
Sorry, that was a bad analogy. I'll cut that out, but
No, we're
Van
keeping that. We got to keep that.
Vancouver dances for money. I mean, it's like
Also,
that
pause.
was awesome.
Doesn't work either.
Ugh.
Vancouver will sell players and or coaches for the right price that comes in on the transfer market,
Yes,
in
that is
completely
correct.
legal and non-illegal ways.
Yes,
Oh
that is
man. Well,
correct. That
you
is
know who's
correct.
about to spend a lot of money while we move on. Let us know your thoughts on Dolo, by the way. Let us know what you think LAFC is going to do, because we'd love to hear everybody else's thoughts.